Hello, I'm John Feldt, and this is the Weekly Water Outlook National Edition, August 18th, 2013. Well, let's take a look at the number of days of rain over the last 7 days, and we can clearly see some trends here. First of all, we see up in the upper part of the Midwest here, the area right here, we see dry, and this area brown. That is indicating 0 or maybe 1 day of rain. And then we see in the southeast U.S., that's really the area where the most rain has occurred, and that is anywhere from 4 inches or 4 days of rain. And look at this blue here. That's 6 or 7 days out of the last 7, so it's rained every day. And I'll show you in a minute how much rain has occurred in that area. Now here's the jet stream. The jet stream in blue has shifted up to the north. This time of year in August into September, it's going to get very quiet. I'm not going to have any real strong dynamic type weather factors to talk about, with the exception of perhaps a hurricane. We have this area of detached low pressure, and that's enhanced precipitation over the eastern U.S., but for the most part pretty quiet. Now the tropics have also been quiet. We had a tropical storm Erin. It's now just an area of unsettled weather there. Wave coming off the African coast, but look how quiet it looks. There's not a lot of strong development out there. And oftentimes you go through a week or so of inhibiting type atmospheric conditions, and I think that's what we're seeing here. We have a lot of time to go, so sometimes years go that these conditions stay the whole season and we keep a quiet season. Other times they depart and things just really explode over a short period of time. It's too early to say. Late August and September is really showtime, so keep that in mind. Even in the Gulf of Mexico, there are some clouds or some showers. Sometimes when a front gets stalled in that area, I get concerned about a low developing, and that could occur, but it looks like if it does, it'll be weak. Now, one of the things that we do need to keep an eye on very closely are the steering flows. Right now, we have an area of high pressure near Bermuda. That's that Bermuda high, typical this time of year. And systems are going to be moving either one of two likely tracks. One are curving up east of the Bermuda high, and the other one that's also very likely hugging the south of the Bermuda high, and then as it gets over to the west, it comes into the Gulf of Mexico and curves up towards the north. And right now, those are these tracks. Now, we don't have anything out there really to be concerned about at this time, but I do think we need to be alert on what these steering flows are and where systems might go. Okay, let's look at observed precipitation over the last 7 days. This is the area in yellow here is the most significant rain, and red is actually about 5 inches of rain, and as much as nearly 10 inches of rain is a little area of purple right on the immediate Gulf Coast. On the upper Midwest, very dry, no rain whatsoever in this region, no rain out in the west, light amounts of rain in the blue. So really, other than some isolated moderate rain over the Midwest, the only story was really the southeast U.S. heavy rain. Everywhere else was pretty much below normal. And we see that with the areas of below normal and above normal, red being below normal. We see widespread areas, and that dark red is 0% of normal. Areas in green are blue and purple are above normal. And again, the southeast U.S. was the most consistent area of above normal precipitation. Now, stream flow is indicated by blue and black being high stream flow, green being normal stream flow, and red being below normal. Generally speaking, in the southeast U.S. and the eastern U.S., stream flow ranges from normal to above normal. And then over the western U.S., we're looking at stream flow generally below normal. Now, I did want to point out this region right here, the area in blue, and even in the area black, that's above normal stream flow, and this area would be vulnerable for inland flooding should a tropical system move inland. So the drought monitor was updated over the last week, and I think some changes I wanted to point out was that it was expanded into Illinois and northern Missouri and eastern parts of Iowa. So this area has been expanding. It's been very persistently dry right in the middle of the Midwest. This has gone from a D0 to a D1 as well. So this has been an expansion of dry weather in this area, and also the intensification of some areas where it's also been dry. And I think those trends are going to continue. Now, if we look at temperature anomalies, this is for August, 1st through 17th, you can really see that upper trough that has dug, and we've had that cooler weather, and that's that area in blue. Now, that's going to change pretty significantly this week. We're going to have an area of high pressure that develops, and I think that trend that we've had for August so far, all the way through the 17th, is on its way out, and we're going to have a different type of pattern here. So first of all, at the surface, I did want to point out that that front that's produced the heavy rain over the southeast U.S. is still there. This is that front, and that stalled front with an occasional area of low pressure off in the Gulf that'll bring in tropical moisture. That will be the hot spot right along the immediate Gulf Coast and along that frontal boundary. That front's still in place. Aloft, I think the biggest trend to point out is the area of high pressure that's been centered over the Rockies is now moving to the east. And by the end of the week, actually by the middle of the week, it's going to be right over Kansas City. And that's going to bring that heat and very dry conditions more from the western U.S. into the central part of the U.S., parts of the Midwest as well. That's going to be the biggest weather story this week, for temperatures significantly warming over the upper Midwest and widespread dry weather. So the forecast for the next 7 days, generally speaking, similar to the last week. Dry conditions over a large part of the nation, with the exception of the southeast U.S. that will remain wet. More scattered showers over the northeast U.S. And then in Minnesota and Wisconsin, that's associated with the upper jet stream over that area, perhaps some enhanced precipitation in that region. But we're really looking at strong anomalies of dry weather over right in the middle part of the nation, strong anomalies of wet weather over the southeast U.S. I wanted to take a quick look at week 2 as we round out August and go into September. And when I look at that, sort of look at this from a big scale perspective, I really don't see a whole lot of change. It looks like dry weather over the middle part of the nation, better chances of rain over the east and southeast. So really, I think the story we're looking at is not going to change a whole lot. Now here's soil moisture. Browns are dry, greens are wet. What's going to change? Well, look at the shades of brown. We're looking at drying soils over a large part of the nation, with the exception of the southeast U.S. And I think this again points out here, we mentioned that rivers are running high, soils are wet in this area. Should a tropical system move in this area, parts of southern Alabama, large parts of Georgia, South Carolina, or Virginia, North Carolina, there is that vulnerability for inland flooding. So the takeaway is stalled front remains over the southeast U.S. It'll continue wet. Tropics are generally quiet for now, but things can change quickly, so we will have to keep an eye on it. The central U.S. will be very dry with warming temperatures. This pattern looks like it's going to continue through much of the month of August. Up this week, my long-range outlook will be issued on Thursday, and I will be issuing sector updates throughout the week. Appreciate you listening to this week's briefing, and I will be updating it again next